Hola a todos, buenas tardes.
Hello, good afternoon to you all. Well, this talk is about something that I've been always obsessed by, or rather since Skype started. That was back in 2003. Of course, I hope I don't have to tell you what Skype is about, but this is a slide as a reminder slide. Well, Skype stopped being independent back in 2011. It was bought by Microsoft, and then second is that Skype is not only used for personal communication, as you all know, but Skype is widely used as at the workplace. It's not a corporate tool, however, it has a strong impact in terms of productivity and performance of workers. So the aim of this talk is kind of to expose Skype as it is nowadays. Why was I so impressed about Skype? Why couldn't I see the same appeal in other type of voice IP communication? And for me, what it was the strongest point about it was privacy. Privacy was just a consequence of the global architecture of Skype service. From my viewpoint, there were two key points explaining that level of privacy. The first one being that the Skype protocol used or combined client-server communication or peer-to-peer communication through a key element of the architecture, which are the supernodes. We'll discuss that later on. And the second determining factor is that Skype used to use a proprietary encryption mechanism. So whenever someone the formal response of Skype was when someone requested something, Skype said, well, we cannot really do that because we have proprietary mechanisms that does not allow us to do any to provide that information. The thing is, well, Skype is a protocol that had embedded mechanisms for evasion. They were very clever, and that was combined with self-recovery. So if you wanted to reduce or to restrict the width band, you couldn't do it, but Skype then reconnected itself, even if you could not restrict the width of the band. Therefore, I would try to analyze whether those two factors that made Skype different, I would like to see whether they're still on in terms of security and in terms of privacy. Supernodes. Whenever a Skype client logged on, tried to do it through an IP point address, and these were supernodes. In the Skype client established communication, and then the peer-to-peer communications were established. But something wonderful about supernodes is that anyone, without knowing it, could become a supernode. Any Skype user, any system run by the Skype user could become a supernode, of course, provided it complied or fulfilled the number of requirements, such as, I don't know, certain bandwidth, etc. So therefore, you could allow access to Skype to some users, and that user could detect that other users had also access to it, and therefore it accessed the Skype service through one of these supernodes. So at a given point in time, you could just take a look and could see that there were many Skype users that were behaving as supernodes, and each of them could handle around 800 users per each supernodes. One of the things that changed after Microsoft bought Skype is that supernode architecture was maintained. However, individual users or Skype clients could not become supernodes automatically. So that is to say, being upgraded to a supernode, nowadays it's only possible from servers, for instance, Linux, that are hosted in data centers of Microsoft. The analysis that I will show you later on
brevedad.
I did not include
Igual
it
era lo más
because
relevante,
of
porque es cierto que está
questions
bien
of
documentado,
brevity,
que el análisis que yo he hecho
and the
lo
analysis
confirma.
that I
Confirma
did
que durante horas el
confirms
cliente de
that. That
Skype,
is
a
to
la hora
say,
de
for
establecer
hours,
determinados
Skype
protocolos de
clients, when it
comunicación,
comes to
lo hace
establishing
exclusivamente
some
contra lo que antes
communication
eran
protocols,
supernodos. Ahora todos los
in the
supernodos están
past used to do
alojados
it through
o
supernodes. Now all
están
the
en direcciones
supernodes
IP
are
que están
hosted
alojadas
in,
en
or
data
IP
centers de
addresses
Microsoft.
are hosted in
Bueno, lo
Microsoft
bueno es que
data
por lo menos
centers.
ahora son más
Well,
potentes.
actually, the good thing is that these data centers
El
are more
cifrado.
powerful
El
than in the
cifrado de Skype a mí
past.
siempre me ha fascinado.
Skype
No había
encryption.
documentación,
I've always
como si la que
been
había era
fascinated
obsoleta,
by that.
probablemente se la
In the
estaban
past, there was no
inventando.
documentation.
Y
Existing documentation was kind of obsolete.
si se ha modificado la arquitectura de Skype desde el punto de vista
So,
de los supernodos,
Skype architecture has been
pregunté,
changed in
¿se
terms of
habrán tenido
supernodes. And then I asked
el
myself,
cifrado? ¿Se habrá
well,
cambiado
what
también
happened
hacia
with
algo más
encryption?
estándar?
Did they change that as well?
Bueno,
Have they made
lo
it more
bueno,
standard encryption?
entre otras muchas cosas buenas, de
Well,
trabajar en un
amongst
fabricante
many
de
other good
tecnología es que
things,
uno tiene acceso
when you work in
a gadgets
this type
realmente
of technology
interesantes.
companies, you have
Uno
access
de
to
esos
very interesting
gadgets
gadgets.
es el que
One
voy
of
a
those
usar, con
gadgets
vuestro permiso,
is the
para hacer
gadget
ese, voy a
that I
echarle un
will
ojo a
use
ver
if I may have
si
your
Skype está
permission.
utilizando el cifrado
It
propietario
is
aquel
one
o está
that
utilizando
will
otra
let me
cosa
see
que me
whether Skype is
resultase más
using the
familiar, ¿no?
proprietary
Y para
node
ello,
or
pues lo que
not.
tengo es
And for that,
un PC,
I
tengo
have a
Skype,
PC, Skype.
espero que veáis bien el número de la versión porque es
I hope you
importante.
can see
Versiones
well
previas a
the
estas
name of the version.
se comportan de un modo
Earlier
totalmente
versions than
distinto desde el
that
punto de vista
behave
del cifrado,
dramatically
pero
different in
esta
terms
versión
of
o superiores, veréis qué
encryption.
cifrado uso,
But this version or higher
y voy a estar
versions
capturando todo ese tráfico con una herramienta de
work,
analítica de
and I will
seguridad,
capture in
que bueno,
data
realmente es un
through
poco
a
infrautilizarla para esto,
security
porque
analytics
utiliza estructuras de datos de Big
tool.
Data, está pensado para
Well,
hacer
because
datos
this
de
is thought for big
enlaces de 10
data,
gigas, te
for,
permite
I don't know, 10
cruzar
gigabytes
paquetes incluso
links. It allows you
indexados
to
con
cross
DPI,
index
recoger esa
packages
información
and
de
to
cabecera desde
gather
nivel 3 hasta
that
nivel 7 y la
information
aplicación y
from
guardar una
others
estructura de
level
datos y coger esa
7
información
to
con
keep up
herramientas de
another
inteligencia, de amenazas
structure
externas
for
y detectar
data,
brechas de seguridad, que es para lo que está.
detecting security breaches,
Pero,
and
oye,
that is the main
también
purpose
sirve
of it.
para jugar
But it is
de
also
vez en
good to
cuando y
play
sí, ya
around
sé
with
que no lo
it
veis.
now and again.
¿Vale?
Yes, I know that you
Si
cannot
nos
read it
acercamos
from
más,
your seats.
bueno,
Well,
con esto lo único que quería enseñaros es que
if
hace
we zoom,
realmente muchas cosas chulas.
well, this is for
Las
you to
cosas
see
chulas que
that
nos
it does many
interesan
cool things.
es que
The cool things that we
hay
are interested
SSLs
in are SSLs.
y hay SSL que reconozco como Skype y otro
Well,
como
some of them are
desconocido
recognized as Skype, others
y
as
otro
unknown,
de Facebook y
others
de
from Facebook,
MSN, del Microsoft
then
Network,
DNS from
el
Microsoft Network,
cliente de Messenger de Microsoft.
Messenger, Microsoft
Interesante. Hay
clients.
SSL en
Interesting.
Skype.
We have SSLs in
Para
Skype.
confirmar que hay SSL en
To
Skype, vamos a
confirm
ver
that,
qué common names veo.
we
Y para confirmar que
are
es
going to take a look at the
SSL es de Skype,
names
vamos a ver los
to
common
confirm
names
that that
que
belongs
estoy
to
viendo en ese
Skype.
tráfico SSL.
I really want to
Bueno,
see
pues
those names
hay algunos
on
que
that
son
SSL
relativamente
traffic.
genéricos. Esta cosa
Some
no
of
tenéis
these
la
names
pantalla
are
desplegada.
actually
Bueno,
generic.
tampoco es tan relevante, pero bueno, sí, porque al final la información está relativamente
Well,
duplicada por este lado.
information is duplicated here, is doubled.
Encuentro el ratón.
Let me see if I can use the mouse here.
Podéis ver que hay common names que hacen referencia directamente a Skype.
So
Veis que hay
some
common
names
names que hacen
refer
referencia
directly to
a Facebook.
Skype,
Veis que hay common
others to
names que hacen más referencia a
Facebook,
Skype, a otros
other
sitios, que
ones
luego
to
veremos qué es lo que
Skype,
hacemos, qué es lo que
to
está
other
haciendo Skype contra
sites,
esos otros sitios. Messenger, Live.com.
messengerlive.com. This is not a surprise,
Microsoft anunció que desde
since
Skype podías ponerte en
Microsoft
contacto con
short
usuarios de
ago
Link. Y de hecho, si
announced
habéis
that
actualizado
from
Skype
Skype you
relativamente hace
can
poco tiempo,
get in
veis que
contact with
después de
Link
actualizarlo te dice si quieres
users.
logarte con tu usuario de Skype o con tu usuario de
Well,
Hotmail. Con lo
it
cual,
asks you
tampoco es
whether
tan
you want to log in with your
Bien.
Skype user or with your
Más
Hotmail
cosas que me
user.
resultaron interesantes con este análisis.
So,
Pues
what are the
cuando hago
important
análisis de los nombres de
or
los
interesting
servidores web
finding?
con los que se está
Whenever
conectando,
I
empiezo a ver,
analyze the names
confirmado
of
que
the
todo
web
esto es Skype,
servers,
empiezo a ver nombres de
after
servidores
confirming
que no
that
tienen
all
ningún
these
sentido desde
belongs
el
to
punto de vista
Skype, I
de
start to see a
Skype,
number of
fuera
servers that do not
del
really
de
make any
Facebook,
sense from
y
the
si me tomo la
viewpoints of
molestia de
Skype.
categorizarlos,
Then
veo
I
que hay una actividad
classify
más
them,
que
I establish
notable
categories,
relacionada
and then
con
I see
sitios
more
que se dedican
outstanding
a
activity
introducir
related to
anuncios, o sea, redes
sites
de web ads
that do
y sitios que recogen
AdWords or
analíticas de
advertising,
los usuarios,
and
de
then
cómo
sites that
un usuario está
gather
haciendo uso de esa
users'
herramienta.
analytics, to
Bien,
tell us, yes, to
con esto
measure.
ya yo me hago mi esquema y digo, vale,
user's activity.
el cifrado de Skype
Well,
tiene
after
pinta
that, I
de
said,
que, al
okay,
menos en parte,
Skype
se ha cambiado de
encryption
ese protocolo propietario, de
looks
ese
that
sistema de cifrado
has
o
shifted
mecanismo de cifrado propietario que
from the
utilizaban, se ha
proprietary
cambiado a
encryption system
SSL.
to SSL.
Que la mensajería de Skype está haciendo uso de
Skype
la red de Microsoft.
instant
Por otra parte,
messaging
ya lo
is
sabíamos.
using the Microsoft
La red de
network.
Messenger
We
de
knew that.
Microsoft, me refiero a
Well,
sitios,
I mean the
servidores que
Messenger,
se utilizan en el servicio de mensajería
Microsoft
instantánea de
Messenger
Microsoft.
sites.
Y por último, esa cantidad de sitios
And
de
then
analítica y
these
de anuncios
these sites for analytics and for ads could take us to think that Skype users are kind of becoming products, and that is detrimental to our privacy as users. And because I'm obsessed with privacy, I decided to remove the codes of Skype. Well, because we have SSLs, is my Skype user vulnerable to an SSL?
Y hasta dónde llegamos analizando lo
and
que
see
tengamos
how far we can get in our
descifrado en caso de que se pueda.
analysis.
Y como os digo, pues,
And as I'm telling
trabajando en el
you,
trabajo tengo acceso a un conjunto de juguetes
at
bastante
work I
interesante.
have access to a
Decidí
number
meter
of
otro
good
juguete
toys,
en la ecuación,
and I
que
decided
es
to
la
include
casita que
one more
veis, que es
toy
que
in
la
my
analítica de
equation.
seguridad sigue donde estaba.
So
He
security
cambiado el
analytics
switch de
remains
antes
in the same
por
place. I've
un
changed
cacharro
the previous
que lo que
switch
hace es
by this
hacer
device,
intercepción de
and this
tráfico
device
SSL.
intercepts
Y puede hacer
SSL
intercepción de
traffic.
tráfico SSL tanto cuando tengo
It
la clave privada
does that interception
del
both when I have the
certificado digital de los
private key
servidores
of the
como
digital
cuando no la tengo.
certificate
En
of the
caso lo que
service,
necesito, como
and
vais viendo ahí en las
also when I
herramientas, que
don't
necesito
have
para hacer esta
that
prueba es
certificate. Therefore,
una
one of
CA,
the elements that I need
¿vale?
for this is an
un
FBA.
certificado de CA
That is to
intermedio.
say, a
Vale, entonces,
CA intermediate
para
certificate.
ver cómo de fácil era hacer el ataque, pues dije,
Well,
bueno, como es
in order to
relativamente
see how
complicado
easy
robar
it
una
was
CA
to make
pública
an
de las que parecen
attack,
como confiables
because it
en
is difficult to steal a
dije, bueno, pues
public
voy a hacerme una
CA,
privada que total para
I
andar
said,
por
okay,
casa,
I'm going
pues
to
tiré y cogí
produce a
y
private
creé
one.
con mi
So I
PKI
created
del
with
PC
my
una CA intermedia.
PKI, I created an intermediate CA.
Como CA
I
confiable
loaded it
en
as
el PC,
reliable
en el
CA. I
certificate
loaded
store del
it in
sistema
my
operativo,
PC,
¿vale?
in the
De cualquier
certificate
ordenador.
store of my
Y de paso
operative
cogí esta
system.
misma y la cargué
And then I
como CA
took
de
this
firmas
very same
en
one and
el
I loaded it as signature
interceptor de
CA
SSL.
on
El
the
interceptor de SSL
SSL
lo que va a hacer
interceptor.
básicamente es al vuelo, el
SSL
tráfico que venga por un
interceptor
lado con un
will
certificado
catch
digital de servidor,
the
extraer
traffic
toda la información de
with
ese
digital
certificado
certificate,
digital, el common
will
name,
abstract
etcétera,
all the
etcétera.
information, common
Se va a
name,
apuntar todas
etc.,
las que has
etc.,
confirmado ese
will
certificado
make a
y va a
note of
generarme al
all
vuelo
the
un nuevo
CAs that
certificado
have
de servidor
generated the certificates,
con esos mismos datos, pero firmado por
and
esta
then
CA.
we'll
Y
use
por todo,
those data,
manteniendo
but
el resto
signed
de la
with
cadena
that
que hay ahí.
CA, and of course, whilst keeping all the whole
Y lo
chain,
que este señor
the
intercepta
whole
es capaz de
exchange,
mandármelo
existing
además
chain.
en claro por
Whatever
otra
it is
interfaz que va a un
intercepted is
sistema
sent
de
out to
captura
me
de
through an
paquetes. Bueno, yo he
interface
usado
that
este
captures
estilo,
packages.
pero probablemente os hubiera valido hasta
Well, I
cierto punto otro,
chose
pero
that
no para
one,
todo lo
but
que vamos a
any
hacer.
other one could also
Bien,
be
y
okay.
arranco en Skype, me pongo a
So
capturar
I
y
log on
funciona.
Skype and
Y
then
puede
I
hacer un man in
start
the
to
middle, aunque
capture
ahí no
data
veis nada,
and
pero ya
it
voy yo
works.
zoom. Bien, entonces, pues
You
ya
can
veis
also
que
do
he
a
dejado de
man in the
ver
middle.
certificados digitales,
So I
he dejado de
stopped.
ver
I
common names.
no
El
longer
informe de
see
common names,
common
de
names.
certificados de servidor en SSL está vacío. Vale.
That is
Veo
empty.
nombres de distintos servidores
Then now I
HTTP
can
que
see
antes estaban
different
sincronizados por
HTTP
HTTPS.
servers.
Y bueno, pues veis que se habla con detecto Skype sobre HTTP,
So
Windows Live,
Windows Live, Facebook,
Hotmail,
Hotmail,
Azure, que es el servicio
Azure,
de cloud de Microsoft.
which is the cloud service of Microsoft.
Pues se puede hacer. Así que
Well, you can do that.
Skype está
So
utilizando
therefore,
al menos
Skype
parcialmente
clients are partially
cifrados
using SSL
no le dice al
encryption
usuario ni que lo está haciendo,
and
tampoco hay una forma de ver
doesn't
qué
say to the
certificados
user
están en juego.
that
Es decir,
he's doing
echo de
so,
menos
and you cannot really
simbolito
see
del
the
candado del
certificates
navegador para ver
that
qué
are
certificados me están presentando los sistemas contra los que me estoy
running,
conectando.
because I cannot really see
Eso
the
no está ahí,
lock.
¿vale?
I don't see the lock icon
Y además
of that I
está
often get with certificates,
utilizando
and at the
el sistema
same time
operativo.
is using the certificate
Porque de
store
otra
of the
manera no hubiera
OS.
sido posible que yo hiciera esa intercepción,
Because
porque yo he
otherwise I
cargado
would not
una
have been
CA
able
privada
to make
dentro del
that
certificate store
interception.
del sistema operativo.
Therefore, this tells me that yes, I can do a mal in the middle. And then it also tells me that it is more vulnerable than those applications that come with their embedded certificate store. And then doing mal in the middle is not difficult, provided I know how to insert the CA in the list of reliable CA certificates, and the user would never ever know that I am opening that communication. Now that I know that I can do it, I want to analyze the information that I capture. And what do I capture? Well, whenever I log in, I can put this. So there is something here that I did not decipher, which is the user identification code. That could be the password of the user session that is encrypted, considering that we have the user's name. This is the user's name used by the user, in this case, for this proof. Well, here it tells us the version that I'm using, and also things that I don't know why are being done. Why do you use the user's name with the host of the machine that I'm using to log in? Do you really need that? And then what happens if we chat? Well, this is the IM. So the chat is very clear. So I can see the username. They are communicating, they are engaged in dialogue. And the next thing I was interested in was, well, if there is a file exchange, can I rebuild the file? I think so, but I did not finish it on time to show it to you today. So I can see the control channel. I can see that Skype is telling me the type of file that I'm exchanging when the exchange starts, when it finishes, how it went. However, so far, didn't do, I don't know how it did the disencrambling, but the file transfer was there, and now I want to reconstruct the file. The next thing was like, can I listen to voice conversation? I am also working on that. I can also see a clear conversation, okay, and of course it will require more work, okay, I have to continue working on that.
Además de que uno puede ver con relativa facilidad lo que se está intercambiando.
Other than seeing easily the exchange that is taking place without the user being aware of that, another issue that was of concern to me was seeing the huge amount of things that Skype downloads in order to work, and from many different places. Many of them came from JavaScript. One of them called my extension significantly. It is not that I'm an expert on JavaScript at all. However, you can see that this comes from the chat at widget. So it's the widget that inserts ads on my chat window. And, well, this is an easy program. So it has this huge amount of lines of code for JavaScript. So it takes months to analyze all that. Well, if any JavaScript expert is interested in devoting a number of weekends to analyzing that, please let me know. Oh, I've been fast in my presentation. Conclusions. I am disappointed. I'm not longer enticed. You know, everything that was good, proprietary, encryption, supernodes, as everything in life. You know, when you grow up, things get worse. Well,
Utiliza en silencio el
proprietary
almacén de
encryption has been replaced by SSL,
el sistema operativo.
uses certificates of the operating system
Es posible, por tanto,
in
hacer un
silence,
man
so
in the
to
middle
speak.
de
So
SSL, para lo
you
cual
can
solo
do
tienes que
man in the
inyectar
middle of
una CA
SSL. The only
privada
thing you
como
have to do
confiable
is to
dentro de ese
insert a
sistema.
private SSL
Y
as a reliable one
además,
within the OS.
como veis, al
And
ver la
then,
gran cantidad de datos que se baja y pudiendo hacer un
because
man
it
in the middle,
downloads many
me
data and you can
sorprendería
do
que no
man in
fuera
the middle,
posible
I
ocultar
would be
dentro
very
de uno
much
de esos
surprised
scripts
if you
un
couldn't
código de
hide
JavaScript que
within
hiciese
those
cosas que
scripts a
nosotros quisiésemos
JavaScript code
ejecutándose con los
that
permisos
would
con
do
los que se
things that we
ejecuta
wanted
Skype.
it to do by using the permits that
Eh,
Skype uses to execute
Rápido
itself.
muchísimo.
Well, I've been really fast, eh?
Pues ya está.
And this is all
Muchas
from
gracias.
me. Thank
Si
you so
tenéis más
much.
preguntas
If you
ahora,
have questions, be very happy to take them.
Hola Alberto, ¿qué tal?
hola.
El cliente de Skype
Hello,
que
Alberto.
fue el de Windows.
So
Esto
the
lo he hecho
Skype
tanto en el de
client
Windows
was
como
that
en
the
el de Mac
Windows
OS X.
client? Well, both. Windows as well as Mac OS.
Sin insertar una CA.
Without
¿Cuál fue el resultado?
inserting a CA, what was
Sin
the
insertar
result?
una CA,
Before you inserted a CA, what
el
was the
protocolo, o
result?
sea, el Skype no conecta.
Well, Skype does not
Se
log
queda en
in,
el
does
login.
not log on. You know, it just stays login, 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 never connects.
Viendo esto, el tema de protección de datos.
Well, data
veo que
protection
están
issue.
incumpliendo la legislación española en.
Well, is it that the Spanish legislation and European legislation is being breached for this, in this application?
Las herramientas de...
No, Skype.
Are you referring to Skype? Oh, yes, of course.
Está incumpliendo la
Clearly,
legislación,
Skype
entonces, no
is
hay nada-
breaching the
no se está tomando,
legislation.
¿sabes? ¿Se está tomando algún tipo de medida en torno a la
Is there
legislación
any
de la
measure
área
in that
europea en este
regard?
caso? Porque
Are they taking any measures in that regard? Well, I'm sure Germany and any other countries,
¿sabes si se está
well,
tomando alguna medida
have also
para
follow
evitar
European
el uso
legislation. Are they taking any measures in order to
de
prevent
enviar
or,
la información sin dar el
well, to
consentimiento del
stop
usuario?
sending out information without having the permit or consent of the user?
No tengo ni idea de
Look, I
leyes.
have no clue whatsoever about laws. I'm very happy, far from laws. You know, if you are into laws and you don't have a good lawyers, you are very likely to have big problem. I just don't know. I wish they are taking some measures in that regards, but I cannot really answer. Sorry.
Una preguntilla.
Well, I have a question. Did you study the certificates? Who signs them? What are their characteristics? Do each application have a different certificates? Well, I didn't do that matching, but from the names, you could see some matching or some kind of correspondence. However, others were more general. I didn't do any correlation. And who signs the certificates? Well, some were signed by Entrust, others were signed by Baltimore, whatever. So I didn't follow the chain. I didn't do that correlation. Thank you.
Muy
interesante la charla.
Highly interesting talk.
Que hay una versión
So you mentioned
antes de ella y después de
that
ella
there
es que se
is
comporta de forma
a version, an early version, and a posterior version where we have different behavior. Would you tell us more about that? And then, are there any alternative to Skype? And if not, is there a possibility to create it? Well, early versions to 6.11, if I try to do SSL interception even, no, I don't get any interception. I cannot really intercept anything. So that is to say, I do not really see anything different in my analytics system than before, when I didn't do an interception. Well, it doesn't show up anything, right, or anything different. So to me, Skype was unique. Huh?
No lo sé, no tengo
I just don't know.
conocimiento de todas las aplicaciones
I'm not
que
aware
pudieran
of every
hacerlo,
single
y tampoco
application
estaba
that could do
obsesionado por
that,
Google Talk
and
o
I
la
was not
Hangout.
obsessed
No, a mí me
about
obsesionaba
Google
esta.
Talk or Hangout or any
Esta era
other.
mi
I
paranoia.
was obsessed by this one. I had an
Una de
actual
ellas.
paranoia. Well, I have many paranoias. This is one of them.
Hola. Felicidades por el trabajo.
Congratulations for your work. So,
So,
authentication process associated to users. Which one has been the most interesting one when you access the user number and the password? Did you do further analysis or more in-depth analysis? What is most interesting for to doing exploding or thefting or theft identity? Any challenges? Well, authentication. Well, the previous steps to presenting to what I believe what it is, the user identity code. I gave it this number. I name it yourself. I don't know. Perhaps the name is Universal Incorporated. I don't know. I guess that is it. But I don't really know whether there is a previous challenge or not. But systematically, in the same points, there is always a presentation for the first time of the UIC together with the user's number. I tried to do reverse engineering from that UIC because I knew the password. So I tried different hashing systems to reproduce that chain. However, when you do that kind of blindly, by trial and error, you are using lots of resources and the success rate is low. So at this point in time, success rate is low.
Hola, mira, quería preguntarte una
Hello.
cosa, casi a título personal. Dices que la
Yo-
versión antigua te
So you
apasionaba,
say that the
porque no
previous
podías saber
version,
nada
the
de
early
ella.
version, you were
Ahora
passionate
justamente
about it
puedes
because
saber
you
de
knew
ella
nothing about it.
porque te
Now
apasiona,
that you
quiero
can
decir,
have that
ahora puedes
information,
investigar
you
lo
can
que
know
Microsoft
more
está haciendo
once
contigo,
you
antes no podías.
passionate anymore. Because now you know what Microsoft is doing. Why don't you like it anymore? Well,
La
because I
ignorancia es la
don't like
felicidad.
my findings.
Vaya,
Would you
eso es un
say
buen
that
pronóstico.
ignorance brings
No, me refiero,
happiness?
La verdad es que no lo había pensado.
Or lack of knowledge brings
Lo
happiness?
que yo pensaba
Well,
era, si
I never thought it that way.
solo,
What I thought
a ver,
was
si
the
utilizo un
following.
mecanismo de cifrado propietario,
So if I
las
use
probabilidades
proprietary
de que
encryption
no solo
mechanism,
Microsoft,
the
sino
possibility is
cualquier,
not only for
probablemente aquí estoy más
Microsoft, but,
preocupado,
well,
igual estoy
I am
equivocado,
more
pero estoy más
concerned, perhaps I
preocupado
am
por
mistaken,
cualquier
but
otro en
my
este momento,
biggest
¿vale?
concern,
Me resultaba mucho más difícil desde el punto de
it
vista
was much
técnico
more
poder
difficult for
acceder a
me
esta
from the technical
información.
viewpoint
A
to
ver,
access this
y no es que yo
information.
viviera en la
So
ignorancia,
it is
¿vale?
not that I
Microsoft,
lived
en
in
junio del 2011,
ignorance.
Microsoft compró
Microsoft June
Skype
2011 bought
en
Skype.
mayo, sí, en mayo
Yes,
del 2011,
Microsoft
y en
bought
junio
Skype in May,
presentó una
and then
patente
in June
para un sistema
released the
de
patent
intercepción legal
for
en
a legal
comunicaciones de voz sobre IP.
interception system to intercept IP,
Vale.
voice
A mí
over
lo que me
IP
preocupaba
communications.
eran todos los demás.
I was
¿Vale? Es
concerned
decir,
about
¿y cómo
the
después
rest,
hasta la
all the
privacidad?
others,
Mira,
and I say,
Microsoft,
what
de acuerdo,
happens
la
with
gente de Skype,
privacy?
pero es que además ves que hay comunicación con muchos otros
So that you
sitios
can see that
que
communication
no
takes
me
place with
producen
many
total
other
confianza, Facebook,
places or
etcétera.
sites
Comunicaciones
that
que
I
sí que me
am
producen mucha más
not
confianza, que
fully
son redes de
trust,
anuncios
such
y
as, I don't know,
analíticas.
ads
Entonces,
networks and analytics
mi idea era,
networks.
si es
So my
cerrado,
idea
es menos
is if
probable que
this is
ocurran estas
closed,
cosas intermedias.
it is less likely to have these
Simplemente eso.
intermediate
Pero
type of things.
sí, bueno.
Y una última pregunta. Estas conexiones a Facebook, etcétera, etcétera,
So
etcétera,
those
por ejemplo, se
Facebook
reflejan en el lambda
connections,
de Skype. Quiero decir, a lo
Are
mejor,
they
cuando tú te instalas
reflected
Skype, te está diciendo,
on
"Oye, voy a
Skype?
conectar a Facebook,
When
voy
you
a
log on,
conectar a internet, voy a
Skype
mandar
says,
chat".
oh, I'm going to log on to Facebook and this and that. Does it tell you so? Well, perhaps it's me who doesn't know how to find that information. Yes, I was really surprised when I found out. I was not surprised when I found out ads, because there was a little thing over there changing all the time. I was surprised by finding analytics. What is the type of information that it gathers? Whom I call, how often do I call that person? Thank you.